Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our Week 14 fantasy football starters, streamers, and fades. We're here to help you make all the right decisions on who you should have in your lineup, who could help you in a pinch, and who you need to be concerned about this week. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin. That is Kyle. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. Kyle, Week 14 is here, man. We're here to help you win that championship.
Oh, yeah.
Today, we're hitting you with our starts of the week, streamers of the week, and fades of the week. Definitely want to check out our waiver wire pickups for Week 14. Click the link in the corner in the description below. Kyle, what you got?
Corner and the description below. Hey, you know what? Click that subscribe button as well as the bell so you're notified every time that we upload this podcast. We do upload 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday. We get you all the content that you need so that you can dominate your league. If you've been listening to us this season, we've been killing it for you, actually. I was looking through last week's starters, streamers, and fades, and we nailed quite a few. We missed on like one or two, but we nailed quite a few, actually. We had the running back 4, wide receiver 16, tight end 1, QB 10 on the starters. But streamers is where we actually just killed it, too. We said start Kirk. Killed it. We killed it. Said start Kirk Cousins, pick him up, start him. QB 12. Said start Las Vegas's defense, pick him up. Defense 10. There you go. Boom. We did miss on Trey Burton, but so did Indianapolis.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. All right. So let us know what your starts questions are. You can put them in the comments below. We will answer them the best we can. We're always asking because we want to give you that heads up. All right. So let's dive in headfirst into the shallow end and get going on the starters, streamers, and fades here. We've got starts of the week. Right off the top, we're going to hit you with our running back. Let's see. Aaron Jones versus Detroit. Why? Detroit is actually the worst when it comes to defending against the running back this season. They are giving up the most fantasy points to the running back in the entire league. It's terrible. They're averaging 5.2 yards per carry this season. But that's like below pace on like a receiving yardage. So they've actually been able to stop the receiving yardage, but at the same time, they're giving up a lot of running. So it's like they could defend against one thing. They've decided to sell out against that and then ignore they just don't understand that running backs exist. And kind of sounds fantastic. Like, yeah. So, look, Lazard's back. The running game has been stronger in the zone blocking, one cut and go scheme as a result. So Aaron Jones is getting to the second level faster. He's looking better over the last few weeks, coming back from his injury. As you can see, he's just kind of getting fully healthy now with Lazard out there. That's good. Man. Yeah. He could be a difference maker in playoffs. His schedule is actually really, really good. I think that he's going to be one of those top guys there, top 6 probably through the playoffs. And that's just going to be a real difference maker to be able to just set it and forget it on him. What do you have on wide receiver?
Wide receiver, I have Allen Robinson II versus Houston Texans. Speaking about having a really good first round of the playoffs, and you're having this guy as your wide receiver. The one thing is he did not have the targets he should have had against the Packers last week, but he should rebound nicely against Houston, which it made sense he didn't have the targets. I mean, the Texans don't have the defenders the Packers do back there on the back line. So it makes sense. But the thing I'm looking at is Houston Texans. Without Bradley Roby, he got the same PED suspension that Will Fuller did, and now AJ Boye.
It's so wild. He had the same injury
or something.
Yeah, they had the same injury that they had to go to a doctor and take the same medicine that they all thought was not on the banned substance list. It's just amazing.
It's amazing.
Only those guys and only on that one team. Wait, well, I do want to say something though.
Yeah.
They're located in Houston and they're still not the biggest cheaters in that city.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, they didn't win a championship off of it, did they?
No.
2 years running or whatever it was.
All right. Well, I want to bang the trash can on this one, and it's the fact that since Bradley Roby was suspended, wide receiver one's been going off against the Texans. Here you go. The last 3 games: Davante Adams, 13 catches, 196 yards, and 2 tutties. DJ Chark, 7 catches, 146 yards, and a tutty. T.Y. Hilton, he has done anything all year, and he puts up 8 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. So, I mean, Robinson definitely signifies a decent floor in this matchup because he's going to get to targets. He's going to get to catches. I'm looking for a big game out of him, man. Just as long as the quarterbacks can get it there. But, I mean, even with whoever it is, big Richard Foles or
It's
Trubisky, yeah, it doesn't matter. He's still getting the yards and the catches.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So tight end Hunter Henry versus Atlanta. This is not the greatest feeling to say Hunter Henry versus Atlanta should be a start, but that's true. Atlanta's giving up the most fantasy points to the tight end position this year. Hunter Henry had a season low in targets, catches, and yards in a blowout loss to New England last week. This is the get right game that Henry and Herbert are going to need. And look, if you've made it this far with Hunter Henry, then you know that usually he's good for about 30 to 60 yards. You toss in a touchdown this week, and you have a tight end one on your hands, actually, most likely. And this 2020 tight end season, although it's kind of flipped, there's some high-end performances the last few weeks that have been coming out.
Heck, if you get 60 yards, you may be a back-end tight end one anyways.
Yeah, you could be. Yeah,
you really could.
Yeah,
you don't have to.
I managed
rely
to
on the touchdown.
I managed to start Darren Waller in one league and Robert Tonyan in another. So, yeah,
did okay last week.
Yeah, did all right.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got on QB?
Well, I'm going to stay same game, same team. I'm going Justin Herbert versus the Atlanta Falcons. So if there's a guy that needs a bounce back, it's Justin Herbert. That was a rough performance against the Patriots. And but here's one thing: have you heard of this before? Atlanta gives up the most points to a position. Wait, we just said it. Well, here we go. This time it's the QB position.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a bounce back game. He didn't throw a touchdown. This is the first game, and he's played since week 2 that he hasn't thrown a touchdown last week against the Patriots in any game so far in his career. But before last week, weeks 2 through 12, Kyle, he was the number 4 quarterback in points scored. He's got Keenan Allen. He's got Mike Williams. He's got Hunter Henry. Austin Ekeler is somewhat back. He may show up a little bit later in this, but they're all pretty formidable weapons for Herbert. So I'm looking for a get-right game right here as well.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on here to streamers. A QB that you can pick up and throw into your lineup this week if you need that. I don't know. It's week 14. Should be a playoff. should need to.
Hopefully you're good to go by now.
Hopefully you're good to go. Hopefully you figured this one out. Phillip Rivers, he's going against Las Vegas. He's 40% rostered right now. Las Vegas is 11th in fantasy points allowed to the QB. Look, right now this is a position that's not got a whole lot of depth available on the waiver wire. So that's why we're suggesting he's a possibility. Rivers' pass attempts have been way up during the second half of the season. And it's, you kind of got a chicken or egg situation going on, which came first. It's either T.Y. Hilton's value or Phillip Rivers' value, or I think it's just kind of, mutual. So as a result, I think Phillip Rivers is a possible start here. His volume is picking up. Las Vegas defends the run a little bit better than the pass. And so it makes it more likely that they're going to be able to throw the ball. Yeah. So that's where I'm going. What do you got on tight end?
We're diving deep here. We're diving a little deep here. And it's Tyler Eifert versus the Tennessee Titans. He's only 6% rostered. Tennessee Titans are the 8th in points allowed to tight end this year. So we're really looking for that, coming to fruition on this one. Eifert for the tight end position, he's still getting consistent level of targeting, so when it comes to PPR, he may have just a little bit more value for the fact that he might be getting those targets, but it's not really the quarterback play that could affect Tyler Eifert. It's more the fact that James Robinson is just a beast mode when it comes to inside that 5-yard line. They're really looking his way, but it's one of those things where if he gets stopped a couple times, I could see a nice little dump off to a little pass over the top to Tyler Eifert to let him go get it and bring it down.
Yeah, they like to do that every once in a while.
Absolutely. What do you got on defense for a streamer, Kyle?
All right, this one's a bit surprising that they might be available, actually, but San Francisco versus Washington. San Fran is only 50% rostered right now. And going into the playoffs, you should really have your playoff defenses kind of planned out and already rostered. You can start cutting bait on guys that are not going to crack your lineup, barring some unforeseen major injury or something like that.
Right.
So you can start cutting bait on those guys if you're in a redraft league or even in a keeper league. Obviously not in Dynasty, right? But you probably have more rostering spots available to you in that situation. So Washington is 8th in fantasy points allowed to defense special teams. Despite last week for either of these teams, you should see San Francisco dominate against Washington. They both, it was a little bit different story last week. San Francisco has performed solidly in every good matchup that they've had so far this year. And so I think that you could anticipate that happening again. Right now, they have a pretty good matchup coming. If Gibson misses the game, which is actually possible here, then San Francisco should be a top add this week because this is a position that you can shore up your you can add upside, you can shore up your deficiencies in your lineup as a result of being able to cut guys off of your roster and make your team even stronger during the playoffs. If you're not moving and making moves, you're getting weaker.
If Antonio Gibson misses this game, man, they can sell out because Peyton Barber's not scaring anybody at all when it comes to running back, and J.D. McKissick is only a pass-catching running back, so they can sell out.
And they have quite a bit. And San Francisco has really fast fast linebackers. So shutting down the passing game to the running back is something that they should be able to do fairly well. Yeah. All right, let's hit those fades. All right, running back. Let's talk about that. Austin Ekeler is going against Atlanta. So we've been talking about how Atlanta is really, really bad against the pass and really bad, against QBs in general and the wide receiver. They are allowing the 30th amount of points in to the running back. So they are like
so up here and then so down here.
I don't know. Yeah, they are. They're allowing the third least amount of fantasy points to the running back position. They give up a ton of points to the QB, a ton of points to the wide receiver. So it's not a total fade here because Ekeler is obviously involved in the passing game, right? That's one of his main values. And so that kind of tempers this fade a little bit. He's still startable. He's not a complete fade. But yeah, I think that part of the reason they're so bad or so good against the running backs because they just give up on the other stuff, right? So look, you're just hoping that his usage in the passing game is going to make up for the reduced running back value or running game value. Additionally, while he is back, he's only had 22 attempts between the two games that he's been back. And only 8 of them came against New England in the blowout loss. So his carry total has kind of dropped, but you would also think he shouldn't have been game scripted out against New England. So why were his carries down? And he didn't have like a concurrent increase in passing totals or passing, in targets.
Right.
They didn't have a dramatic jump up. It was roughly the same number. So this is a little bit weird. He's had 25 targets in the same time frame. So he's had more targets than touches. But they didn't feature him a ton during the blowout. So I don't really know if they just decided we're too far behind to worry about it.
Maybe.
Or if that offense was just such trash that they just couldn't do anything during the game.
It was a combination of everything, I think.
There was a lot of short fields that they gave up to New England. There was a lot of situations where they just kind of lost the position, the field position battle. All right, What wide receiver are you fading?
So this one might be a little shocking. Tyreek Hill versus Miami Dolphins. Miami is pretty solid against wide receiver when you have Xavier Howard, who's leading the league in interceptions, and Byron Jones, who's I think is one of the most paid cornerbacks in the league. Those are both solid cornerbacks. Tyreek Hill did kind of come back down to earth. I mean, he was going to after that ridiculous week 12, but he still put up 9 points in standard leagues. But one of the biggest reasons, Kyle, I am fading him, and this is something you want to keep an eye on more towards the end of this week, is Tyreek Hill missed Wednesday's practice with a non-COVID illness. And it might sound very similar to what CEH just had, where he was, CEH, I guess, did come back to practice today in a limited fashion. But it's one of those things where, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was active, but
they activated him last week.
But he didn't put him on
the
field. A single snap.
Yeah, but he was out all week too.
Yep. I mean, that's something to keep an eye on. So that's one of the reasons, not quite all about the talent. It's more about availability. I mean,
Yeah,
is this going to happen again where it's going to be a guy that might be, pooping his pants going up and down the field or something like that?
I
Because that's
guess
what it kind of
maybe.
sounds similar to that. So that's the
Oh,
reason why I'm fading him, Tyreek Hill. So this one could come back to haunt me unless he gets to feeling better and we're good to go, man. What do you got for
I
tight
was
end
gonna
fade?
say there was a guy who did like Olympic distance or Ironman distance triathlon one time
Oh,
who like
gosh.
he qualified
Mhm.
for like the world championship or something, and during the running portion of it had
Yep.
gotten very ill. And
Yep.
there are
That's a good way
pictures
of
and
putting it.
it's it ain't good. It ain't pretty. It is not pretty.
He's carrying a lot of weight
He
on top of him. It should have been going out of him, but he just stayed with him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he needed to run under a hose or two. All right. So, tight end fade of the week is Darren Waller, right? Went from
Mm.
being number one overall last week to being a fade. Why? Because he's playing against Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is the third best team against the fantasy points wise against the tight end. So he's going from starters to fades in 1 week. In 1 week's time, it's hard to believe, but this offense, it's hard to believe that they're going to find a solid enough path to get Waller the volume and yards that you're going to need to continue in the playoffs. He's not going to be a tight end one this week, in my opinion. I think he falls outside of the top tight ends and does more damage than helps you. I mean, at least you got into the playoffs. He got you there, right? He's just not going to
Hmm.
hand you a win. So in the playoffs, you're going to have to figure that one out on your own. He's just not going to be able to do that. I can't imagine a situation in which he does. All right. So QB fade, what you got?
I have Josh Allen going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are the second toughest when it comes to the quarterback getting points. So, and the Steelers, I think, are going to be playing pretty dang pissed off. I mean, that loss to the Washington football team, I mean, that was not solely on the defense, but they're looking to come back with a vengeance. So, the one thing that it does sting for the Steelers is that loss of Bud Dupree has seemed to hurt the team, but
Mhm.
that just means TJ Watt has to step up even more, who could possibly be the defensive player of the year this year. He's been playing lights out. But the thing with Josh Allen, I mean, he did just tear up the 49ers. I mean, we just mentioned the 49ers as a decent streamer. There's a reason why they're 50% rostered
Yep.
nowadays. They're not the 49ers of old, but it's really going to be hard for Josh Allen to replicate 80% completion against this defense. That's what he just put up against the Niners. So I look for a couple
Especially
turnovers by
because it's
Allen.
like, that's at least 20 points over his career average.
Yep. Yep. I like this defensive line for the Steelers a heck of a lot more than I like the 49ers defense line right now. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where I think if they can get to Josh Allen, fluster him, he's still susceptible to strip sacks quite a bit.
Oh,
He
yeah.
holds that ball out there.
Carries it like a college quarterback does, you know?
He still
All
does,
right.
man.
Yep. That's
He
going to
still
do it,
runs like
guys.
Moe's too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, trips like him too. But that's going to do it for us, guys, on starters, streamers, and fades. Hopefully that helps you out to know who to expect to do well and who to expect not to do well for you. Hopefully that fills in some holes as well. Hopefully you guys are able to continue on to the next round of the playoffs because we know you got there. You've been listening to us. It's great for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so you're notified every time that we upload this podcast. We'll toss our latest 2 episodes on the screen so you can check those out as well. Thanks for being a fan of the upside. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.